Good morning. So it is Monday, 29th of September. It's 7 minutes past 8, and today we're going to go on what is it, Keith? The Liverpool Mersey.
Yeah, Liverpool Mersey
tour, and we're going to go on the open top bus tour around Liverpool, and then we're going to go on to the football match in the evening. I think the football match will be a separate video to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Keith's first.
Go Everton.
Yeah. Keith's first soccer match, as he would call it. It's going to be an amazing day. Let's get going. Okay, so we've arrived in Q Car Park in Hanover Street, and what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to the ferry as soon as possible. We're going to walk real fast because basically it's 20 past 9 and the ferry leaves at 10 o'clock. Leaves at 10 o'clock, so we're a bit tight if we go and get in it, but we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be all right. There we go. So we're 17 minutes away. I'm really dressed like a tourist today. I feel like a tourist. Got 2 bags on, but it's sunny weather, which is unusual for where we are in the northwest of England. So we're going to try and take full advantage of it today. Like I was saying at the start of the video, I think the way it's going to play out is we're going to do the video during the day, and then we're going to do a separate video for the football at night. Yeah, the football video will be out before this one, even though we're shooting this video first. So there's like an old pirate boat over there or something, a wooden boat. Hopefully we'll get to go and see that. It's a beautiful place, Liverpool. Looks like there's a lot of stuff to do. It's going to be a great day. What a day. Almost there. 2 minutes. Oh, River Cruise, there it is, there's the building. So these are the tour buses that we're going to go on in a little bit. I'm looking forward to that. And apparently we've got the statue of the Beatles we're just coming up to now. A little gander at that, I think. They're rather tall.
Yes, we come over this way, we won't be on people's pictures.
And this is us, here we go. Let's get in there. I hope they've got a toilet, because I'm going to pop. So we've just got the tickets now. Brilliant. Thank you. Are we going?
Some coffee.
All right. I don't drink coffee, but we'll get something.
I'll get you some water.
I'll have a hot chocolate, I think, maybe.
Let's sit in with both of these. Did you say yeah?
No, we'll take it to go.
Oh, take.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah, sorry,
we're gonna get on the ferry here in a minute.
There we go. $6.90 altogether.
Beatles chocolate.
Beatles chocolate. I think that's the coffee, isn't it? What did you get, Keith?
I got coffee.
Getting the cream in it. Oh, look at that. Sorted, thank you very much. Yeah, I didn't want a straw, please. That is brilliant. Thank you so much. I can't have it without the straw, because otherwise you can imagine what that would do to my moustache. So we're just in the queue. Ready to get on. Keith's got the tickets. I'm on my hot chocolate. It's okay, not bad. No, it's not, yeah, I'd say about 6 out of 10. I've had better, but I've had a lot worse as well. So.
Hello.
Sorted. Cheers, mate. That's what we're going on. So what's the rating on the coffee, Keith?
I'll give it like a 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah, the taste of the coffee is not so bad. It just tastes like it's watered down.
That's pretty low.
Yeah.
Pretty low. 3 or 4. Right, so I finished my hot chocolate now. I've had the cream as well. It was fairly decent. I think maybe go upstairs.
Yeah, there are toilets, by the way.
Oh, there's toilets on board as well.
If we stay here, we'll get a good view.
Yeah. The old life raft. Don't think we'll all fit in there. Let's hope it don't sink. Sorry.
Right there.
Wonder if you can go up those stairs. You must be able to. What does it say? No admittance, so you can't go up there.
The modern 350-metre terminal on your right is Liverpool's cruise liner berth. Cruise lines, including Cunard, Norwegian Cruise Line, Costa Cruises, Celebrity, Disney, Princess and Viking Cruises, sail into the city year-round.
In all, 7 miles of docks and 23 miles of quays stretch along the Liverpool foreshore. In 1710, the Corporation of Liverpool started work on the world's first commercial wet dock, and by the end of the century, the city boasted a full dock system. Steam had revolutionized shipping, and this, combined with the Industrial Revolution and the opening up of the Americas, secured Liverpool's future as a trading city and a major port.
Nearly dropped it in the water. It's very peaceful to be travelling by a ferry. It's the first ferry I've ever been on. There it is, the Hill Dickinson Stadium.
Liverpool's unique character has been influenced by a diverse mix of races and nationalities, and this has produced a population characterised by its vitality, resilience and extreme sense of humour. The city is also home to the oldest black and Chinese communities in Britain. Liverpool had financially prospered from trade with the British West Indies and the American colonies during the 18th century. A latecomer to the transatlantic trade of cheap material goods to Africa, enslaved Africans to the sugarcane plantations in the West Indies, and sugar, rum and tobacco home to England, Liverpool nevertheless came to dominate transatlantic slavery until its abolition in 1807. The growth of the United States of America provided Liverpool with growing volumes of trade, and new docks opened on the Mersey in quick succession during the 1800s. The city was described as the gateway to the British Empire and the door to the New World. A significant Irish presence has existed in the city for several centuries. In 1841, an estimated 49,000 Irish people lived in the city, and in the following years during the Great Famine, over 1.5 million people crossed the Irish Sea, many of whom then left for the United States of America and Canada, but many stayed, and their presence changed the character of the city forever. Up till the 19th century, Liverpudlians spoke in the same way as their Lancashire neighbours, but the impact of Irish migration to the city gave the city its unique accent. Today, an estimated 75% of Liverpool's population can trace their heritage to Ireland. You can find more information on this at the Museum of Liverpool.
So we're going to be walking along there tonight as we go up to the hill, well, I like to call it Everton Stadium. It definitely puts a different perspective seeing it from the actual middle of the Mersey. When we walked along it in the Mansfield football video.
Between 1830 and 1930, over 9 million people left Liverpool by boat in search of a better life. Before steamships were introduced, these journeys were extremely hazardous. To sail to America would take 35 days, and the trip to Australia lasted from 10 to 17 weeks, depending on wind and weather.
Oof, wouldn't like to do
The
that.
ships were crowded, and conditions encouraged the spread of diseases such as cholera. By the late 1800s, over 200 ships a week would leave Liverpool and travel all across the world. Liverpool then was the most important port outside London.
On the dock wall, you can see the Victorian hexagonal Salisbury Dock Clock Tower, designed by Jesse Hartley, who was responsible for much of Liverpool's dockland architecture, including the Royal Albert Dock. The clock's chief use was to check the ship's chronometer as the vessel left port, and was affectionately known as the docker's clock. It has 6 faces that can be seen from all points of the compass.
Here it is now.
The only other one of its kind is in Russia. This is also the original site of the entrance to the Leeds-Liverpool Canal from the river.
Wow.
Although now the Pier Head extension is finished, the canal extends through to the Royal Albert Dock. We now see the massive red brick building, which is the Stanley Tobacco Warehouse. When built in 1900, it was the world's biggest bonded warehouse, large enough to fit St George's Hall inside. It was built using 27 million bricks, specifically for storing tobacco cargoes until duty was paid. And it is still the largest brick-built building in the world. The next dock downriver is the Nelson Dock, and then we have the Bramley Moor Dock. The impressive new football stadium that you can see is built over the filled-in dock and is the new home of Everton Football Club, replacing Goodison Park, the club's home since 1892.
That's where we're going, yeah.
It took over 4 years to build at a cost of over £800 million. The Bramley Moor Dock, opened in 1848, was also designed by Jesse Hartley and primarily used as a coal dock. The dock was in use for 140 years, but as coal-fired steamships fell out of use and the coal mines in South Lancashire closed, demand for coal disappeared, and Bramley Moor Dock was eventually closed in 1988.
The large wind turbines that you can see provide the power to the Royal Seaforth Dock, which is the prime container terminal for North America. Approximately 70% of the northwest freight runs through Liverpool. Completed in 2016 and adjacent to the dock is Liverpool 2, a new deep-water container terminal capable of handling 2 post-Panamax vessels simultaneously and able to handle 95% of all vessels that sail the seas. This doubles the container handling capacity of Liverpool. The large group of trees along the Wirral foreshore opposite is Vale Park, and it was near here where the famous gunpowder magazine stood. This is where the ships used to stop to offload or pick up gunpowder on their way into or from port. Storing explosives in the docks themselves was seen as far too big a risk.
During the 18th and early 19th century, smuggling was rife throughout Britain. This area, Wallasey, was perfect for smugglers, because 300 years ago it was cut off from the rest of the Wirral by the Wallasey Pool on one side and the swamp of Bidston Moss on the other. It was an isolated, dangerous place, prone to sudden mists and quicksand, and best negotiated only by the few who knew it well. One of the most notorious smugglers here was known as Mother Redcap, who ran an inn which stood by the shore.
So that's the microphones where the commentary is coming out, so that's why I'm not stood right over here, because I thought it'd be beneficial for you to hear the commentary. What a view.
The impressive building with the huge staircase is Wallasey Town Hall. The building was actually built back to front, so that the front could face the river. To the left of the town hall, and behind the trees, is a red brick building with a glass conservatory. This is Guinea Gap Baths, opened in 1908. Some say that the name comes from a bag of guineas once found washed up on the shore here. Originally, the water used to fill the pools was seawater taken from the River Mersey and filtered. It obviously had an unusual quality because between 1908 and 1957, 205 national, European and world records were broken here.
The tall, square tower, looking something like a giant stereo, is the Kingsway Road Tunnel Ventilation Tower. Its twin is on the Liverpool side of the river.
Let's see if we can get a better look at that. So that must be what he means over there.
As we approach Seacombe, look out for the large bell at the landing stage, used before radar as the only guide for the ferry in fog. In fact, radar was installed in 1947 and was the first in the world to guide ferries. Seacombe Ferry Terminal has undergone a major reconstruction, including the replacement of its Victorian link span bridges and refurbishment of the landing stage and terminal building. Seacombe is also home to Eureka Science and Discovery, a visitor attraction designed for children and young people up to 14 years old. Visit to discover how science, technology, engineering, art and mathematics influence and shape our lives, connecting the everyday with the extraordinary. Visit eurekadiscovery.org.uk for information and opening times. All visits must be booked in advance.
This is Seacombe Terminal. Please leave here for Seacombe and New Brighton. This is Seacombe.
All right, let's change locations. I've really enjoyed that so far. I learned a load as well. There we go. Oh, it's a bit windier.
Ferries have not only provided transport for visitors and the people of Merseyside, they have also played their part during both World Wars. In the First World War, two of the Wallasey ferries, the Iris and the Daffodil, were commandeered by the government and used as landing craft for the Royal Marines in a daring raid to neutralise the port of Zeebrugge on the 23rd of April 1918. Both of the ferries were badly damaged by artillery and machine gun fire, but managed to escape and limp back to Dover. Because of their work, King George V allowed the vessels to use the word Royal in their name, and after extensive refitting, they resumed their peacetime activities as the Royal Daffodil and the Royal Iris.
You can now see the roll-on, roll-off ferry terminal called 12 Quays, connecting the Wirral with Belfast. It is along this stretch of shoreline where the famous 1 o'clock gun still stands. A cannon was fired from here at 1 o'clock every afternoon, except Sundays and bank holidays, and was used by the ships to check their chronometers. This event finally stopped on the 18th of July, 1969.
Even before the Merseybeat boom of the early 1960s, Liverpool had a reputation for a lively, popular music scene. As a thriving port, this city was a hub for entertainment and leisure, and the Mersey ferries played a significant role in that tradition. From its arrival in 1951, the Royal Iris was popularly known as the fish and chip boat for the food served on board during its dance cruises. In 1957, the Cavern Club began promoting its legendary riverboat shuffles. These were 4-hour dance cruises up and down the river. The Beatles played 4 times on the Royal Iris between 1961 and 1962. During this time, they changed their manager to Brian Epstein, ditched their leathers for smart suits, shirts and ties, and for their final show, they had replaced their drummer Pete Best with Ringo. Many bands played on the Royal Iris over the years, including Jerry and the Pacemakers, The Searchers, Acabilk, The Farm, and Elvis Costello. If you're interested in finding out more about the Beatles, you can visit the award-winning attraction, The Beatles Story, which is based at the Royal Albert Dock. The attraction takes visitors on an immersive journey through the lives, times, culture and music of the Beatles, and contains an impressive collection of fascinating memorabilia. For more information or to buy tickets in advance, please visit the Beatles Story website.
As we sail past Woodside, you can see in the distance some of the elegant Victorian architecture built during Birkenhead's heyday. Birkenhead was the first town in Europe to operate a dedicated passenger tramway, and the first ever public park was built here, an idea of William Laird, the famous shipbuilder. It was paid for by the council and designed by Joseph Paxton, the famous designer of the Crystal Palace that featured in the Great Exhibition of 1851. The park, officially opened in 1847, offered opportunities for recreation to all Birkenhead residents, with the formation of a number of park-based clubs. Paxton's design was later copied on a much grander scale by an American named Olmsted, who co-designed New York's Central Park. The clock tower with the green dome is Birkenhead Town Hall, which stands in the elegant Hamilton Square, one of the finest Victorian squares in Britain, and which, apart from Trafalgar Square, has the most Grade 1 listed buildings in one place in Britain.
Passing Woodside, can you see the tall, slim spire of St Mary's Church?
Yeah, there it is.
This marks the site of the old Birkenhead Priory, where the very first ferry service began. In front of the church is a slipway built in 1840 called Monk's Ferry, and this is the spot where the monks would begin the mile-long journey across to Liverpool. On the other side of the slipway are the dry docks and slipways of Camel Laird, famous for building many great ships such as the Ark Royal, the Second Mauretania, and even some of the Mersey ferries. The first ship built was launched in 1829, and over 1,300 ships have been built here. The construction hall that you can see is one of the largest in Europe, and in recent years has seen a number of major fabrication projects, including the building of the flight decks for the new HMS Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier. In April 2014, the British government authorised the procurement by the British Antarctic Survey of a Royal Research Ship at an estimated cost of £200 million. In 2015, Camel Laird won the construction contract, and it was the largest commercial shipbuilding project in the country in 30 years. Commissioned by the Natural Environment Research Council and operated by British Antarctic Survey, the new polar ship, the RRS Sir David Attenborough, will transform UK research in the polar regions, providing scientists with state-of-the-art facilities to research the oceans, seafloor, ice and atmosphere. Its missions are critical for understanding and making sense of our changing climate.
You've got to get the
In 2023, Mersey Ferry signed a contract with Camel Laird to construct a new ferry, the first to be built in over 60 years. Named Royal Daffodil, this vessel is scheduled to launch during 2026. The ferry is being built locally at the Birkenhead shipyard, offering valuable apprenticeships and training opportunities for future generations. We are now passing Tranmere Beach, which is where many great ships came to be broken up, including the Great Eastern, designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and one of the biggest ships ever to be built. She carried over 3,000 passengers in luxury, as well as 6,000 tons of cargo. She had an amazing history. She laid the first Atlantic telephone cable, killed her first captain, and had 4 mutinies. She had 5 funnels, and her 6 masts were named after the days of the week, Monday to Saturday. The 4th mast, Thursday, became the flagpole of Liverpool Football Club at Anfield. Even as she was being broken up, she held a surprise. The skeleton of a worker was found who must have been trapped in her hull when she was being built.
The long piers with the big gantry cranes on the river are part of the Tranmere Oil Terminal, which can handle tankers weighing up to 300,000 tonnes. More than 10 million tonnes of oil are discharged here every year and then pumped 10 miles upriver to the oil refinery at Stanlow, the second largest refinery in England. We are now off Rock Ferry, which from the early 1820s became a popular residential area for Liverpool businessmen who took advantage of the ferry services to move home to the Wirral. Many made their homes in the newly built prestigious houses in the privately owned Rock Park, fronting the river. As the century progressed, an esplanade was built linking Rock Ferry to New Ferry, and the area developed into a day tripper resort. The American novelist and short story writer Nathaniel Hawthorne lived at Rock Park for 4 years during the 1850s whilst working as the American consul in Liverpool. An extract from his diary reads, "At Rock Ferry, there was a great throng forming a scene not unlike the 4th of July. There were bands with music and banners, and a small procession after them, and a school of charity children enjoying the festival. And there was a club of respectable persons playing at bowls on the bowling green of the hotel. And there were children and infants riding on the donkeys at a penny a ride. The hotel to which Hawthorne refers was the Royal Rock, a popular destination for ferry passengers who took a trip to Rock Ferry to enjoy a drink, a game of bowls, or a walk on the esplanade. In the late 1930s, a layer of mud began to wash over the sandy beach, and in 1939 the ferry service was discontinued. The area gradually deteriorated, and the old pier was replaced by a jetty connected with Tranmere Oil Terminal, parts of which can still be seen. Eventually the Royal Rock Hotel was demolished.
Further ahead are the eastern locks into the Manchester Ship Canal. Manchester, a city that was at the centre of the North's Industrial Revolution, was provided with a vital passage to the rest of the world when the canal was opened in 1894. It carried imports of raw cotton to the heart of the Lancashire cotton industry, some 35 miles away. By 1955, the canal was carrying over 18 million tonnes of goods every year. Amongst the many ships that use the canal now are the Mersey ferries, operating day trips from Liverpool and Wirral to Warrington and back. The cruise gives passengers the opportunity to experience a round trip in the same day. Cruises operate on selected dates during the summer months. Please check the Mersey Ferries website for details.
If you look over towards Liverpool, you get a fine view of Liverpool's two cathedrals and the Museum of Liverpool. The museum is the largest newly built national museum in the UK for over 100 years. The story of Liverpool is told through displays drawn from exhibits related to the city from National Museum Liverpool's entire collection. Visitors can explore how the port, its people, and their creative and sporting history have shaped the city. The red sandstone Anglican Cathedral, designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott when he was only 23, took 74 years to build and is the largest Anglican cathedral in the world. To the left, the delicate spires of the Metropolitan Catholic Cathedral of Christ the King top an enormous and beautiful stained glass lantern, which during the day projects a vivid display of light radiating throughout its interior.
On the river, ships are guided by the red and green buoys which mark the deep water channel. These buoys follow the International Maritime System. Red is kept on the left or port, and green on the right or starboard. Unlike British car drivers, ships navigate on the right. The black and yellow buoy warns against the Pluckington sandbank, which stretches right below the water as far as Pier Head landing stage. Sandbanks, strong currents and fog all plague the Mersey and make it a very treacherous river. The Liverpool South docks stretching in front of us are no longer used as commercial docks, but were once a forest of masts filled with ships from all corners of the world, including those of the Elder Dempster line, known as the monkey boats, because they carried monkeys instead of ship's cats.
Well, that is super interesting. I have learned so much.
as we proceed across the river back to Liverpool, the stunning vista of the waterfront takes your breath away. We now attract many millions of tourists to the city, within which beats a heart alive with musicians, poets, writers, artists, painters, sculptors, designers and architects. Liverpool was European Capital of Culture for 2008 and continues to have a thrilling renaissance. There has also been a dramatic transformation in the River Mersey itself. It has recovered from being one of the most polluted rivers in Europe in the 1980s to become a haven for fish and wildlife and a focus for regeneration along the waterfront.
Liverpool is synonymous with popular culture, especially music, sports and the arts. It's home to 5 theatres, including the Liverpool Playhouse, Britain's oldest repertory theatre. It is also the home of Aintree Racecourse, famous for the world's greatest steeplechase, the Grand National. And in recent years, the city has become popular with film companies looking for dramatic buildings and locations. Not surprising, because Liverpool contains more than 2,500 listed buildings, more than any city apart from London. It has more public sculptures than any UK city aside from Westminster, and it has more Georgian buildings than Bath.
Looking to the waterside, this is the King's Dock area with its 10,600 capacity arena and conference centre. It accommodates events from rock and pop concerts to ice shows and international sporting events. To the left of the arena is the Albert Dock, the largest set of Grade 1 listed buildings in Britain. In 2018, it was granted the prestigious title Royal Albert Dock, in recognition of the pivotal role that it played in starting a resurgence of interest in Liverpool's wonderful architecture. Threatened with demolition for years, it was restored in the 1980s, and the Royal Albert Dock has become one of the country's favourite tourist attractions. To the left are the beautiful buildings known as the Three Graces, which together form one of the most majestic and famous waterfronts in the world. On the right is the Port of Liverpool building with its impressive copper dome. Opened in 1908, the design came from a rejected competition entry for the Anglican Cathedral. In the middle stands the Cunard building. Built in 1914, the building was designed in the style of a 16th century Italian palace and was once the offices of the famous shipping line owned by Samuel Cunard, who operated the first regular transatlantic lines between Liverpool and New York in 1840. Other famous shipping companies followed, such as the White Star Line, owner of the Titanic, and the Blue Star Line. Their magnificent liners berthed along the famous Prince's Landing Stage, which was for many years the longest floating landing stage in the world. It was from here that over 9 million emigrants passed through Liverpool between 1830 and 1890 on their way to a new life in America.
Finally, the beautiful Liver Building, erected by the Royal Liver Friendly Society in 1911, is perhaps Liverpool's best-known landmark. Based on a Chicago waterfront skyscraper, the building is topped by the famous liver birds, which stand nearly 6 meters high. They're said to be based on an eagle, which was the original seal of King John. However, when the seal was lost in the 18th century, the artist commissioned to design the new seal misinterpreted the eagle as a cormorant, hence their rather unusual appearance. Some say that the female liver bird faces the river waiting for the sailors to come ashore, while the male is looking inland to see if the pubs are open. They've never mated, so there are no other liver birds in the world, and tradition has it that if they ever fly away, Liverpool will cease to exist.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I couldn't resist it. What an amazing start to the day, and I'm sure it's only going to get better. Good value tour, that. Real good value. I know I said it before, but I learned a lot. and it's made me appreciate Liverpool a lot more, 100%. So that's it, we've done the tour of the Mersey. I think we're going to do the bus ride next. Yeah, there's some of the sandbanks. I would not like to step in that. I'd go straight under, I reckon. Look how busy the tour is. We did well to get on at 10 o'clock. It looks like it's full capacity and they're waiting for the next one. Wow. Even some ice creams. So I've not brought a packed lunch today, so we're gonna have to eat on the go. So it's the yellow bus that we're waiting for. Just thought it'd be interesting to film this while we're here. Hopefully we'll try and visit as many of these sites today as possible. But I do think there's too much to do in one day. Here we go, so the bus has arrived. Just speaking with Keith, and we've decided that we're going to do the full bus tour to start with, and then we're going to come back and start getting off for individual stops, but that way we'll see absolutely everything first. Let's get upstairs.
Right. So, good morning, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Liverpool Explorer. Do grab yourselves a seat, guys. I'll be up with you in a sec.
Oh, brilliant.
So this is the voice of Oliver. I'm your guide. With us is John. He's our driver.
Outside or inside?
Basic
Outside.
plan, it's going to take about 1 hour to do a full loop of the city centre today. Starting and finishing in the Albert Dock, which is stop number 1. We're currently at stop number 2, guys, which is primarily for the Mersey ferry terminal on the left. Famous ferry across the Mersey goes from the terminal every hour on the hour. It takes 45 minutes to an hour to go up and down the River Mersey. Recorded audio commentary shows you what you're looking at. And you can jump off on the opposite side of the river as well. Now, the opposite side of the Mersey is known as the Wirral Peninsula. And the Wirral isn't Liverpool, actually, guys. That's Cheshire over there. CH postcode. Mostly sort of towns and villages. And if I'm 100% honest, the Wirral exists to take photos of Liverpool. I'm allowed to say that, by the way, guys. That's where I live. It's all right over there, gang. Cheaper house prices. New Year's fireworks are free, so swings and roundabouts. Of course, I'm sure you've also noticed there's a statue of 4 men walking towards the ferry terminal on the left. And that, ladies and gents, is a little local band called the Beatles. Now, you might have heard of the Beatles before, folks. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Just imagine the Kinks. Only they're not as good. Joking aside, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we do have quite a few statues of the Fab Four in and about the city of Liverpool. These 4 lads on the left-hand side, they are the newest in the city, and they were unveiled on the 5th of December 2015, and that was to mark 50 years to the day that the Beatles last played in Liverpool. The Empire Theatre in 1965. So yeah, so there they are, the newest Beatles statues in the city, folks, down there on the left.
I was trying to take my bag off.
They became the most iconic.
Sorry for the wobbly camera.
The most visually accurate as well. And I'll tell you this now, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles were not 8 foot tall in real life.
I was thinking the same thing myself.
Spot on, no longer than And if you get a chance to get a closer look at these, each of the Beatles, they've got like a visual Easter egg, which will tell you a little bit more about their characters. So, for example, Ringo Starr has got his postcode written on the sole of his shoe. That's just in case he gets lost, I think. So he's got his postcode under his shoe. George Harrison has got a lot of Sanskrit scripture on the back of his coat, condolence, that kind of stuff. And then John Lennon's interesting because he's got two. So in one hand, he's holding two acorns. Those acorns were cast from the same acorns that used to drop outside his apartment in New York. And he had a habit of handing them out to sign a peace in the 1980s. But the more interesting one for me is actually John Lennon's coat. So a bit of backstory. These four Beatles statues were paid for by the cabinet itself. But technically, ladies and gents, they are municipal statues which you're not allowed to dedicate to anyone. Now, the sculptor was a bloke called Andrew Edwards. He wanted to dedicate the Beatles to his mum, if I remember correctly. And they said, no, it's a municipal statue, you can't dedicate it. They said, all right, fair enough, went back to his workshop. The statues were unveiled, everyone had a nice time. And then people started getting a closer look at the statues. And they had a look inside John Lennon's coat. And it's not Lennon's name on the inside label. It's the sculptor's mum's name. So yeah, he was a good lad, he snuck her in anyway. Now luckily his mum was called Ralph Lauren, so no one really knows.
That's right.
Now to your left hand side, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Cunard building, the former headquarters of Cunard Cruise Liner Company. Their most famous vessel boat is probably the Lusitania. Yeah, their most famous vessel, probably the Lusitania, although there's a row of benches down here on the left-hand side, guys. When we turn, have a look at these benches. They list some of Cunard's other famous vessels, as well as their speeds and their distances travelled. Cunard were all about speed, you see, ladies and gents, as opposed to people like White Star. Now, they were more about the luxury and the comfort of cruise ship travel. Now these, back in the day, if you, for transatlantic travel, if you wanted to go across quickly, you went with Cunard. If you wanted to go across the Atlantic in luxury and style, you went with White Star. Until 1912. They had a couple of cancellations after the whole Titanic debacle, I reckon. To your left-hand side, folks, this is the Royal Liver Building. And you can't quite see the Liver birds, but we're going to turn to the left-hand side and do a loop of the cruise ship terminal, so you can see the building properly. But it's worth noting, when the Royal Liver Building was first opened in 1911, this was the tallest building in Europe. Today, it's not even the tallest building in Liverpool. Tallest building in the city is ahead of us. Can you see there's a glass tower that's got one corner cut off it? Looks a bit like it's got a yellow helicopter on top. That's a crane, that, unfortunately, guys. But, so that building's called West Beacon. There's a restaurant towards the top called Panoramic 34. They'll also do things like afternoon teas and cocktail hours. And it does give you an amazing view of the city and the surrounding area. Especially on a clear day like this. I reckon, depending on the clouds in North Wales, I reckon you'll see snow there. It's 55 miles away from the city. The rest of the building, though, is apartment blocks. That's where Daniel Sturridge lived when he played for Liverpool. Sorry, that's where Daniel Sturridge lived when he was injured for Liverpool, I should say. Now, the reason the Royal Liver Building was the tallest building in Europe is this was actually one of the first buildings in the world to use pre-stressed reinforced concrete. You know, when they put the steel rebar in the middle of concrete? And that allowed them to build higher and higher buildings than they ever had before. Essentially, the Royal Liver Building is a proto-skyscraper. And if you really think about it, if it wasn't for the Scouse, King Kong would have gone nowhere. Imagine the end of that film with the terraced house reworked compared to the Empire State. Oh, and this church on the right-hand side, guys, this is the Church of Our Lady and St. Nicholas. This church has been on these grounds in one form or another for over 750 years now. And in fact, when the church was first built, it was built directly on the riverfront. So everywhere you've been in the last 10 minutes, everything to our left-hand side That used to be the River Mersey. It was a much, much wider river from back in the day, folks. In fact, this street is nicknamed the Strand. There's about 7.5 miles of streets that run down the docks in the city of Liverpool. Most of them nicknamed the Strand. That comes from an old German word, Strander, which means beach. It's also where the phrase stranded comes from as well. So yeah, this was Liverpool's beach back in the day. And everything to the left-hand side used to be the River Mersey. I'll tell you what, guys, I'll start telling you a bit about the liver birds, and again, hopefully we'll turn to the left in a moment and get a proper view of both of them. Now, sadly, ladies and gentlemen, the liver bird is a mythical creature, so you're not going to find any of these on the river looking for fish. The liver bird is mostly an eagle by design, and this comes from the royal symbol of Bad King John. Do you remember the villain from Robin Hood, yeah? Well, he wasn't all bad, folks. He also chartered Liverpool in 1207, so he's the reason we exist. Then they have the head and neck of a cormorant, and that is the scenic river bird that you will find here. And obviously you've got the River Mersey here, guys, the Wirral Peninsula on the opposite side of the river, and as we turn, you're going to see that's the Irish Sea ahead of us, folks. That's 3 miles out. So if any of you guys have come from Ireland today and you miss your flights, that's the way you're swimming, alright. Also got the terminal for the Isle of Man ferry a little bit further up there as well. A lot of people do the commute from Liverpool to the Isle of Man, mostly for the big shops. And as we come back around, of course you'll see there are 2 liver birds on top of the liver building, and they had their backs faced to one another, so I can only assume that they're married. Now the female liver bird, she's called Bella, and she's the one that overlooks the river and the sea. She's there to make sure that the sailors come back home safe and sound to their wives and their families. And then opposite Bella is Bertie, and he is the male liver bird, and he looks into the city of Liverpool to make sure the pub's open on time. Which is a very important role, especially when the sun's out, ladies and gentlemen. And again, you've got our parish church on the opposite side there. 2 other things I want to show you. Can you see at the top of the tower there's a weather vane in the shape of the tall ship? The tall ship, folks, is copper, and then the outside is 8-carat gold. Yeah, that was a gift to the church by a fellow called Fortunus Wright, and he was a privateer from the city of Liverpool. So basically a pirate, but the letters are marked, they didn't let you get away with a long way. St. Nicholas himself, who the church is named after, patron saint of sailors, as well as thieves, vagabonds, and Christmas. He was a busy bloke, yeah, lots of it. So we'll come back round again. Again, you're more than welcome to visit the church, folks. Have a look inside the gardens, a few of the bits and pieces in there. And we're just kind of looping back down the Strand now. So again, that'll take us past the Three Graces, but there is a 4th building coming up ahead of us on the right-hand side. Can you all see there's that big fancy square tower? Off-white cream. So this building, it's a lovely example of Art Deco style of architecture, as you can see. And it's also got quite a lot of ancient Egyptian influences in the building's design as well. Nothing to do with Mo Salah, especially not having the other day. No, it's actually because the building was designed in the early 30s, which was not long after the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1928. So by the time this was done in 1934, everyone in Britain had gone a bit Egyptian mad, basically. And this big fancy white tower is a ventilation shaft for the traffic tunnels that go underneath the River Mersey. So essentially that's an industrial building. 2 traffic tunnels go underneath the river. One goes from Liverpool to Birkenhead. I'll show you that in a moment, actually. So this moves the air around on this side of the river. And on the opposite side of the river, there's the big brown tower that does the same thing. That's all that is. You can do tours of it. And then on the left-hand side, this orange and cream stripy building, this was originally Albion House, the headquarters of White Star Cruise Liner Company. And of course, their most famous vessel was the Titanic. You'll see some models of the Titanic in the windows and all that. It's just that one there. The Titanic never came to Liverpool for pretty obvious reasons, but its paperwork and registration fees was done in that building behind you there. It's a Liverpool registered vessel. Today that building's called 30 James Street, and until the beginning of the year it was actually a Titanic themed hotel. Although that closed, as I say, at the beginning of the year. Apparently there are only enough fire exits for the first class. Lovely rooms up there though, that's good. We are now at stop number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Stop number 3 is for the world famous Cavern Club, as well as the major shopping district, Liverpool 1. You off here then, guys? Right, no worries. So we'll pick you up with this stop every 30 minutes or so, folks. So the largest outdoor shopping venues in Europe. And you've got plenty of time to do your retail therapy, folks. The shops are open every day till about 8 o'clock. There's also a nice open grassy area at the top of Liverpool 1, which is surrounded by bars and restaurants. Some of them might be a bit pricey. If they are, you've got a Tesco Express for that. The park area, by the way, is known as Shabas Park. And that is named after Dr. Noel Shabas, who was the first man to be awarded the Victoria Cross for bravery twice in a single conflict. That was back in World War I. He was a combat medic, if I remember correctly. There we go, we'll just look around here, guys. Coming up on the right-hand side, there's a building with 3 flags and 4 statues. This is the Hard Day's Night Hotel. This is our Beatles-themed hotel in the city. You can see the Fab Four up on the first floor there. And what the Beatles are wearing in the statues represents what they did after the band split up. So let's start with John Lennon, who's right on the corner of Matthew Street itself, the home of the Cavern. John's dressed in his New York denims. Paul McCartney, as he was for the Wings. George Harrison, the concert for Bangladesh. And finally, Ringo Starr, he's sadly not dressed as Thomas the Tank Engine. I'll tell you that, folks, it's a missed opportunity. Then have a look to your right, you've got another little view into Matthew Street, folks. The problem with Matthew Street in this bus is it is more of an alleyway, to be honest, so you'll have to go in your own time. The Beatles famously played at the Cavern Club over 292 times. Afterwards, they would go down the road to a little pub called Grapes, and they probably went there 290 times. See, back when they started playing the Cavern Club, it was actually a coffee bar. And if you've ever played live music on stage, especially in the early 20s, yeah, you need a proper pint afterwards, so that's why they go down the Grapes. It's £5 entry to the Cavern Club these days, folks, but there's live music on there all day, every day, from about 11 o'clock in the morning. And they're not all Beatles tributes, there are some proper up-and-coming bands as well, so your money will support the local artists. Once we get through these lights, we're going to go in between our footballing-themed hotels in the city of Liverpool. We quite like football here, folks. So, coming up on the right, we'll get through the lights, and then first on the right-hand side, we're going to pass the Shankly Hotel, named after Liverpool Football Club's second longest serving, and still to my mind, most charismatic manager, Bill Shankly. Now, he's the man who set the foundations for Liverpool FC's golden era, 16, 17, arguably the 80s. But when he first showed up at Anfield, December of 1959, they were in a lot of trouble. They were second division, mid-table, and their training regime was running up and down the car park just before kickoff. Even if you're not a massive fan of football, you can tell he had his work cut out for him. So he's on the right-hand side. On the left is the Dixie Dean. William Dixie Dean was one of Everton's most famous and most prolific goal scorers of the early 20th century. His best season, 80 goals in all competitions, 60 in the league alone. You have a look to your left-hand side, guys. Remember I pointed out the ventilation shaft and the traffic tunnel? There's the tunnel, folks. It takes about 5-10 minutes to drive under the River Mersey, if traffic is on your side, of course. And that is the Queensway traffic tunnel to your left, although actually it was opened by the King. And further up the road is the Kingsway tunnel, and that was opened by the Queen. So we do it backwards here for a laugh, really, folks. Stop number 4 now, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the Museum District. the World Museum, the Public Library, the Walker Art Gallery, and this is also our closest stop to Lime Street train station as well. Anyone want to jump off at stop number 4, folks? Just so you know, guys, all 3 of the museum buildings are free to enter, barring special exhibitions that may be going on. At the top of the road, you've got Liverpool's column here. Very similar to Nelson's column, of course, in London. It's actually the Duke of Wellington standing atop Liverpool's column. And he is facing and overlooking his most famous battleground, which was, of course, the Battle of Waterloo. And he's got cracking eyesight, you can see that from there, folks. Waterloo's in Belgium. To your left-hand side, you've got St John's Memorial Gardens. There are memorial trees there for John Lennon and for George Harrison. And the central memorial is for Liverpool soldiers who fought during the Victorian era, most notably the Second Boer War. And then finally, to your left-hand side, there is a black copper cylinder. And this is the City Centre's memorial for the 97 Liverpool Football Club supporters who lost their lives as a consequence of the Hillsborough Stadium disaster in 1989. On there to your left. So your right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, that is a good pub. That's it. That's what you need, really. Especially on a nice day like this. Now that's Dr. Duncan's, that, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of Liverpool's highly decorated wing-back chairs, fireplace you can sleep in front of kind of pubs. The man who is named after, Dr. William Duncan, he was Britain's first ever chief medical officer. And he got that job through his research into public sanitation at the time. And what his research concluded was, there wasn't any. Because this is the 1800s, folks. Liverpool, London, Edinburgh, these are some of the major urban centres of the day. And the main issue is none of them had enough sewers. So the working class were mostly using cesspits, and that led to things like tainted water supplies, leading to your cholera and your typhoid outbreaks. And that led to medical professionals like our man Dr. Duncan to recommend everyone, especially all the kids, well, they should be drinking the beer instead of drinking the water. Huh. And here's a solid piece of advice, ladies and gents. Follow it all my life, never go column. Directly ahead of us is Lime Street train station. That's the station that connects us to the rest of the country. Some of you have seen that already, of course. And in a minute, we're going to turn to the right-hand side, and that's going to take us down towards stop 5 on your maps, which is the Adelphi Hotel. But we come here for this building directly on our left, ladies and gentlemen. And this is St George's Hall. This is one of the first neoclassical buildings in Europe. So you can see from the outside, it's very ancient Greek in its design. Queen Victoria once said that this building would not look out of place in ancient Athens. Although when we get to the front of the building, you're going to see there's 2 statues on horseback. Prince Albert and Queen Victoria. So they would look out of place in ancient Greece. If you go inside, it does get a little bit more Roman in its designs. There's a lot of mosaics and white statues and all that sort of stuff. You can go in as part of the history to Whisperer, folks. The tours in there, including things like Liverpool's original law courts. You've got the prison cells that are underneath St George's Hall. And I think you do get access to the concert hall area on the opposite side of the building, which is where Charles Dickens read out A Christmas Carol in full to the public for the very first time. To which the people of Liverpool said, great story that one, Charlie. Although I'll tell you one thing it needs, mate, the Muppets. The best Christmas Carol, Muppet Christmas Carol. If we got any big film buffs in us now, you may recognise St George's Hall from its numerous appearances in television and film. These days, Liverpool is one of the most filmed cities in Britain, folks, so I'm just going to pick out a bunch of stuff and see what you recognise. Peaky Blinders was filmed in Liverpool. Liverpool's War, The Crown, Victoria, Tin Star, The Responder, Doctor Who. Quite a lot. There's a new series on Netflix about Arthur Guinness, the man who codified the black stuff. I don't think he quite invented it. Also, quite a lot of the Harry Potter franchise was filmed in Liverpool. First Captain America uses the Albert Dock. Fast and the Furious 6 uses the Queensway Tunnel, we showed you earlier on. Also, yesterday at Nowhere Boy, as Beatles films, they were filmed in Liverpool. And in the next coming years, Sam Mendes is going to be filming not one, not two, but 4 separate films about the band, folks. They're going to get one each. I'm looking forward to the 5th film when they team up and fight Thanos at the end. We'll see how that goes. To your left-hand side, that's a good pub. That's the Vines, ladies and gentlemen, mostly known as the Big House to the locals. Been there since about 1809. You go inside the pub, on either side you've got these lovely snugs with very high ceilings and wooden panelling. And then the back room has got this fantastic stained glass ceiling on the top. And again, it's a nice sunny day, folks, so when that's open in an hour, it's worth going in for a swift bath because the interior design is fantastic. Especially when the sun's out. Give us a sec, John. Oh yeah, go on. Right. Now I think we're all over 16 on the bus, folks, so I can tell you a bit about this statue coming up on the right-hand side.
Oh yeah.
He's perched atop the old Lewis's department store, just a little bit up ahead. And his official name is Liverpool Resurgence. Sculpted by a man called Jacob Epstein and officially erected in 1956. That's a filthy mind you got there, didn't it? There we go. Officially, he's called Liverpool Resurgent. You ask anyone in Liverpool, that's Dickie Lewis up there. Lewis, because he's on the old Lewis's department store. Dickie, of course, is fairly obvious. Short for Richard. And we are now at stop number 5 on your maps, ladies and gents. Stop number 5 is for the Britannia Adelphi Hotel here on the left-hand side. Now, there's been about 3 incarnations of the Adelphi over the years. This one here on the left, this was first opened back in about 1910, 1911. And it actually uses the same interior designers as White Star Cruise Liner Company did for their floating palaces. If you find yourself in the Adelphi, folks, the second suite in particular, it's apparently an exact replica of the Titanic smoking room. So if you want a bit of advice, guys, don't ask for ice in your drinks. We're now heading up towards stop number 6. This is our first cathedral of the day, the modern-looking Catholic cathedral. So again, ping the bells and give us a wave if you're interested. Now, originally, we were going to build the largest Catholic cathedral in the world here in Liverpool. They started building it in the 1930s, the Lutyens Cathedral, designed by Edward Lutyens, a famous architect of his day. And they completed the lower structures, crypts, catacombs and foundations. But in 1939, World War II started. And of course the workers were forced to down their tools and go off and find the Axis. By 1945, the cost of the Lutyens Cathedral had jumped from £3 million to build to £27 million to build. Again, that's in 1945 money, folks. So, to cut a long story short, have a look to your right-hand side. That's Plan B. Plan A is still there, though. That's why there's such a gap between those 2 pyramids and the rest of that cathedral. Originally, all of that was supposed to be cathedral. And if you have a look to your left-hand side, we're just passing this lovely red brick clock tower here. This clock tower would have fit in the doorway of the original cathedral's design.
Wow.
It's going to be big, folks. And that's the Victoria building, by the way, which is part of the University of Liverpool's central campus. Still used for medical lectures. You've also got the Victoria Art Gallery on the bottom floor and a false teeth museum at the top. You heard me right. If you want to go spend your one-hour holiday time at a false teeth museum, ladies and gentlemen, it's right here, by all means. Although, again, a bit of a warning, if you do go in, skip the gift shop. Terrifying, isn't it? And again, just passing for the University of Liverpool Central Campus. There's also John Moores and Hope University in Liverpool. And between these three higher places of learning, there's usually about 70,000 students in the city each year. Population of Liverpool in general, by the way, about 500,000. So this is stop number 6, folks. Was anyone looking to jump off for the Metropolitan Cathedral of Christ the King? Anyone for the Catholic, folks?
It's super interesting
I
what you
think
were
we're all
saying about that
church a bit,
cathedral.
look at that there, John. All right, so we'll carry on then. Now, the Anglican Cathedral, the Catholic Cathedral is certainly an unusually designed building for a Catholic Cathedral, because it was designed by a Presbyterian. Now, because it's Presbyterian design, that means the altar is in the centre of the building, and it serves as a focal point for everything else is shaped around. And this, ladies and gents, is what gives the cathedral its unique, round, circus big top tent shape. The circus tent look, combined with the influx of Irish Catholic immigration over the generations, gives the cathedral its most famous nickname. To the people of Liverpool, that's Paddy's Wigwam there on the right hand side. Paddy's Wigwam. Although it's also known as the Mersey Funnel, and my favourite nickname, the Pope's Launching Pad. Into that Thunderbirds kind of thing. We are coming up to stop number 7 now, folks. Stop number 7 is my own personal place of worship, the Philharmonic Pub. 20 minutes to the sun's over the Arnhem, guys. Anyone looking to jump off at the film? Okay, no worries. So here it is on the right-hand side, though, guys. This sandy kind of building with the green archway. Literally the most decorated pub in Britain. Front gateway is this lovely raw iron Art Nouveau. Then you go inside, very high, very ornate ceilings, marble top bar, brass footrails and mosaics. It's all Grade 1 listed, the Philharmonic, especially the men's toilets. Probably the last thing you'd expect from men's, really, but they use a very special rose pink marble. Got it from Ireland, can't get it anymore. And today, it is such a unique and lavishly decorated lavatory. Everyone on this bus is allowed to go inside to take a look. Yeah, even all the ladies today, you too can go in the gents with a good iPhone. Oh, quick look to your right, we're just passing a sandy building with white window frames. This is the art college where John Lennon studied and met his first wife Cynthia. And it's also where he worked with Stuart Sutcliffe, who was one of the many fifth Beatles. He played bass with the band in Hamburg in Germany, and he ended up staying there to date a local girl called Astrid. Sadly, where he died as well, folks. He had a brain aneurysm at the age of 21. And this brings us neatly to stop number 8 on your maps. This is for the Anglican Cathedral, the largest Anglican cathedral in Britain, the 8th largest now in the world, and it also has the largest organ in the country. Although it depends on ridiculous, it is cold up there today. Anyone looking to get a closer look at number 8, folks? I think we're all Catholic up here, John. Now, as I say, ladies and gents, the Anglican Cathedral was designed by a Catholic. It was a bloke by the name of Giles Gilbert Scott. Now, Mr. Gilbert Scott was 22 years of age when he designed the cathedral from the left-hand side, folks. Look at the 22-year-old. It was for a competition, and he later admitted the winning plans were actually the same plans he'd drawn up the night before the deadline. As we all remember being in our early 20s. Giles Gilbert Scott himself, by the way, he went on to be quite a famous architect in his own right. He went on to design things like a Battersea Power Station for a number of Pink Floyd's Animals. Waterloo Bridge was one of his as well. And then the one everyone's going to know him from is the classic British red telephone box. And if you find yourself in the Anglican later on today, there is a telephone box tucked into that corner. And that's why that's there, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a direct line to go on. Welcome to Rodney Street, guys, the Harley Street of Liverpool. All these lovely old buildings today filled with doctors' surgeries and plastic surgeons in particular. Some of you may remember Anne Robinson from The Weakest Link. Well, this is where she was constructed. Allegedly, legal basis. You also notice the windows are getting smaller with each floor up on these buildings. This is Georgian architecture, ladies and gentlemen. We have the most of this style of architecture outside in the city of Bath. Bath, of course, that's correct. But Bath's got the most of the country, Liverpool's got the second most, and then this is all over the country, really. Stop number 9 now, folks. If you're looking for somewhere to eat or drink a bit later on, go straight down the road onto Bold Street. But the main reason we're coming here is this building to the left-hand side. This is St. Luke's Church, or as it's more commonly known, the Bombed-Out Church. You can see why. During the May Blitz of 41, a firebomb went straight for the roof of the building, blew out all the windows, but 1,000,000 to 1 chance the outside structure remained intact. So at the end of World War II, Liverpool City Council had 2 options for this building. They could either knock down St. Luke's Church, or they could repair it as best as they could. And as you can see, they went with option 3. Basically just left it, turned it into a memorial gardens. These days they also use it for live music, live theatrical productions, open air cinema nights, and all sorts of other art and community projects as well. Quite a well used building considering the whole back of them. Stop 10 now, ladies and gentlemen. We are in Liverpool's Chinatown. Have a look around yourselves, guys. You're going to notice that these street lamps are now lovely Chinese lanterns. And the street names are in English, and then it is Mandarin underneath. So you've got Knight Street to the left, for example, or Berry Street to the right. The big giveaway we're in Chinatown, though, ladies and gentlemen, is coming up at the right. The largest Chinese archway in Europe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this was actually a gift to the city of Liverpool by the mayor of Shanghai back in the year 2000. Liverpool and Shanghai are twin cities, incidentally, folks. The arch was built in Shanghai, split into about 5 or 6 individual pieces, and then it was sent to Liverpool via ship. And they even had their own workmen to put the archway back together for us in the exact way that Chinese tradition demands. So it was a massive undertaking to get this all over here and set up, folks. And because the archway was gifted to Liverpool back in the millennium, the Chinese year of the dragon, there are actually over 200 golden dragons that are adorning the archway's design. Some of those dragons are pregnant, folks. Apparently, a pregnant dragon is a good luck symbol in Chinese culture. Whether it's for the lady dragon, different story. Final thing about Chinatown, by the way, oldest Chinese community in Europe. This is because the merchant navy started taking on Chinese sailors in the early 1800s, specifically for the Blue Funnel Line, which went in between Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Liverpool. You've got the secretary bird here on the right-hand side, painted by a local artist by the name of John Colshaw. He does murals like this all over the city of Liverpool, ladies and gents. Try and get his Instagram handle in on that sheet. He does murals like this all over the city. If you've been up to Anfield Stadium, he's done quite a lot of the players, past and present, up there, including the mural one for Diogo Jota, may he rest in peace. He also did quite a large image of Ringo Starr, painted on the side of the Empress pub in the Dingle. Now the Empress is where Ringo's mum used to sing in the evenings, top of the road from where he was brought up. Must have been a fairly important place to Ringo. When he released his debut solo album in 1970, it was called A Sentimental Journey, and he put that pub on the front cover. So I quite like his other side of the country. If you were interested in seeing that, ladies and gentlemen, as well as places like Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields, Paul McCartney's house, and some of the other Beatles childhood homes and locations. We do have a Beatles bus tour, which leaves stop number 1, the Albert Dock, at 12 o'clock every day. And you can show the tickets for the City Tour bus and the Beatles tour, and they'll give you a discount for that one. And that's my self-selling done for today, folks. We are now in an area of the city known as the Baltic Triangle. Now, if you come here about 20 years ago, folks, what you would have found here is a largely abandoned warehouse district. But in the past decade, the warehouses have been converted, preserved, and reused. And you can see a number of newer buildings have sprung up in the area as well. What I appreciate with the newer buildings is they are using the same red and brown brickwork as the old ones. Everything does kind of blend in. The centre of the Baltic Triangle is the brewery village here on the left-hand side. Again, contains all the stuff I've just mentioned: bars, food stalls, music venues, vintage clothes shops. Also, the weekend they do a thing called the Baltic Marketplace. This is when loads of independent food traders will go into a big warehouse, trade their wares there for 2 or 3 days, and then next week a bunch of different people will come in and they'll do the same thing. Now, this may shock you, ladies and gentlemen, that the brewery village used to be a brewery. Kane's Brewery was established in 1850 by a man called Robert Kane. He was an Irish immigrant, came to Liverpool to escape the potato famine. And like most men, he started brewing beer in his backyard. Unlike most men, he was actually pretty good at it. And he quickly became, well, basically the taste of Liverpool in terms of its beer for a time. At its height, Kane's Brewery had over 200 pubs with Robert Kane's name and draft on tap, including the Philharmonic Pub, Dr. Duncan's, and the Vines I showed you earlier on. Robert Kane was sinking a lot of his money back into the breweries, folks. Into the pub buildings he owned, just to show off his success and the success of the city of Liverpool in general. Coming up on the left-hand side, guys, we're going to get a peek at some newer buildings in the city. This is the selection of convention centres and exhibition centres that are on the riverfront. Most of these from around before or after 2008, when Liverpool was European capital of culture. The next couple of days, that's going to be the home of the Labour Party conference. That's why the whole city's swarming with coppers.
I wondered why there were so many police.
The Wapping Warehouse here on the left-hand side, folks. This is an example of how we do try and preserve and reuse as many of the older buildings in the city as we can. Those used to be warehouses. These days they are fancy apartments. They were converted to apartments back in the 1980s, folks. The 1980s wasn't a good time for Liverpool, especially not for the docks. They had been long abandoned, so they let the River Mersey go in and out as much as they wished. So all these were absolutely full of dirty, stinky river mud, folks. So the apartments weren't really an appealing place to live back in the 1980s. Those who had the opportunity to buy one, though, yeah, they're absolutely kicking themselves. Apartments about $500,000 each these days. Oh, who's complaining now? Well, public health, I'll agree with that one. So this brings us full circle back to the Albert Dock, the biggest collection of Grade 1 listed buildings in Britain today. The Albert Dock was first opened back in 1846 by Prince Albert, husband of Queen Victoria. They were the world's first completely fireproof warehousing structures. No wood in the building's design, it is just metal, stone and concrete. They were used to store cotton and tobacco primarily. During the Second World War, they were used as a military dockland area for ships gathering for the Battle of the Atlantic. And after the war, the Albert Dock was largely abandoned until like the mid-1980s, when Michael Heseltine, the only good Tory, decided to preserve and reuse these buildings instead of the manner you see it today. Also, of course, in the 1990s, GMTV, the television studio, was set up here for a while. And this is where they used to film things like This Morning with Richard and Judy, and The Weatherman we don't talk about anymore. So that's the full loop of the city centre, guys. We're now coming back to stop number 1. And what's going to happen now is we're going to hang around here till 12 o'clock, about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll start the city tour all over again. Now we picked you guys up for the next stop, so you're more than welcome to stay on to jump off there or any of the other stops around the city centre. And if you are interested in doing our Beatles tour, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours, then that's the yellow City Explorer bus coming up ahead of us here. You can see James, our seller, he'll give you a discount for the tickets on this bus. And again, if you are just jump off here now, guys, thank you very much for taking the Liverpool Explorer. If you've enjoyed it, my name is Oliver, your driver is John. If you've hated it, it's Paul and Barry. We're on TripAdvisor, ladies and gentlemen. Little reviews generally do go a long way. And on the way out, next to me and John, there's a basket for any shrapnel or any tips you feel we have earned today. Any tips, ladies and gentlemen, would of course be greatly appreciated. Me and John, we're going to open our own Beatles-themed curry house together with the proceeds of our tips this year. We're going to call it Tika to Ride. I think that's worth £1, but that's up to you. Right, you can stay on if you want, guys. We'll be here for 10 minutes, but if you're jumping off, enjoy your time in Liverpool. See you in a bit.
That was a really, really good tour. Enjoyed it so much. So we're just off to get some food. So I've not eaten since, I think it was 6:30 this morning, so I'm pretty hungry. Obviously I had that hot chocolate, but I wouldn't classify that as food. But there's some nice places down there. There's a lot of places to choose from. So we're right at the other end now, and I think we've made our choice. We're going to go back down here and get something to eat. So that's what I'm going for, the house burger at this place. So it's arrived, 2 house burgers. I thought it would be slightly bigger.
I did too, actually.
Double patty, but
It's a small portion.
it's because we're on the Albert Dock and we have to pay for the rent. But I'm going to enjoy it all the same. So that's what we're working with. It's extremely tasty, but it is small. There's no doubt. Very tempted to get a cake, but I'm going to be good. So Keith's got his coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we've come to this area. Hopefully, go and have a quick look at this pirate boat. Can we go and have a look at the pirate boat?
Yeah, of course.
It's intriguing me. Alright, so this is quite unusual. I don't think I would have liked to have gone to sea in a wooden boat. So this is the most novel ice cream van that I've ever seen.
Does Bo need to be a good boy?
Look at that. And that's the rest of the boat. Right, I think we're going to the museum next. So that should be pretty interesting. So that boat is a mini maritime museum. And then the Daffodil is a floating restaurant. Oh, this guy was stroking his dog. Wow. Very good, that. Just walking through the city centre on the way to the museum. These are pretty impressive for young people. So just walking down here on the way to the museum, and Keith pointed out that it's quite unique, quite random. Just walking up here. I think we're quite close to the museum. So we're at the bombed church that we saw on the bus tour. Let's see how close we can get to it. It looked quite interesting. It'll probably be fenced off. I don't imagine you can't get in. It's a bit of a shame. Would have liked to get a bit closer. Just walk round to the other side. Again, you can't really get very close. So this is as close as you can get from the side through the gate. That's where we are. You can kind of see inside. There's like gardens and grass in the middle of it. So here's the close-ups of the places that we saw in the tour. I remember the guy specifically said that this place is extremely good for alcoholic beverages, but I don't really drink, so it holds no interest for me. Apart from at Sukkot, of course, but I certainly won't get pleasure from dropping in for a swift half. These are the little scooter things Keith was talking about them before. I think you can put a card in them or something and hire them and then scoot around the city. I've never really seen anything like it, but there seems to be a lot of them about. So we're just coming up to that cathedral. I can't even say it. That the guy mentioned on the tour. So the clock tower that you can see in the background from the video, like the guy said, that clock tower would have fit in the entrance to the cathedral that we stood in now. So it was going to be, was it the world's biggest cathedral?
Yeah, they were aiming to make the world's biggest cathedral, and then World War II started.
Unfortunately, the footage from Keith explaining at the base of the cathedral didn't record properly, and this is the best footage I could salvage.
So the clock tower that Keith was just explaining about, we've just come to get a better view of it. So that's the clock tower, just to put it in perspective. Just walking back along, and we found a little bit more of the foundations to the what would have been the world's biggest cathedral. We are eventually going to get to the museum. We thought we was going in the right direction, but
We have been.
I've been well informed that it's definitely down there. So that's the building with the statue on it. So after much walking around, we've finally got to the area where the museum is. So that's the museum, and this is the railway station, and we're going to go and have a look in the railway station. It looks quite interesting. So this is Lime Street Railway Station. Never been in here before. There we go. Let's go and have a tour. You've got that building that's across the road. Let's go and have a look at these lions. There it is, Albert. I don't think the camera is doing justice just to how big this place is. Look at them pillars. It's a big door back there. Another statue over here. Oops, straight into that. But it weighs a fair bit. There's a lot of nice places in this little, packed into this little area. Do you know when I was walking along the canal? In Glen, Fairy Glen. I always say it the wrong way around. So if you think back to the canal and how all that was built, and then you think of what was involved, the technologies that were involved to construct places like this, especially compared to nowadays. It's very, very interesting. It's like everything today is just very bland, concrete slabs and tarmac. There's a great elegance to all these buildings and design that you just don't get today. Because the money's been devalued so much. But to build something like this would be so expensive that it'd just be completely unfeasible. Let's get in this place. Look how grand and large this door is. Oh, it's locked, that one. Locked. Not today. One thing I would say is it probably needs a bit of a pressure washer. Quite a bit of dirt and grime on them. Got the pillars on this one. Wow. Well, I'm not the best with English, so I honestly don't know what that says. Right, so we have finally found the museum entrance, so we're going to step inside. Here we go.
Another bus.
So it was closed. And the lady was waving her arm saying no, and the art museum, that was closed as well. So we'll have to come back on another day for that, I'm afraid. So all the museums were closed and the art galleries were closed, but we've both got hungry again. And I was just saying to Keith, I've never really had a Five Guys, and Keith has never had a Five Guys.
Never have.
And look what we're walking past. So we're going to have a Five Guys. We're going to sample it and get some fuel in us. So looking forward to it. that's my order. I'm expecting good things on this. That's my milkshake being prepared. Oh, look at that. 625 calories. 625 calories it's got in it. The sign of a good burger is that it takes a long while to be served to you, so we've been waiting a good 10 minutes for this to arrive. Let's watch Keith unwrap his little parcel there. Again, it's not the biggest, but I've been assured that Five Guys is pretty tasty. I'm going to give mine an unwrap now. There we go. So I did get the double one, so it's a little bit bigger. I just wanted to add in as well that this milkshake is one of the nicest milkshakes that I've ever had. Really good. Small, but good.
This is fantastic. This is good. I know why everybody talks about Five Guys now.
There we go. Wow, big bite that. Well, I really enjoyed that. It was an epic burger. Like I said, a bit small. I've got it all over my moustache. I'm going to go and wash it off in a minute in the toilet. But yeah, I'll have something else to eat in a minute. I could literally order another one now and wolf another one down, but I'm not going to be greedy. Well, yeah, good burger. Highly recommended. Go to Five Guys. Maybe I'd have an egg on top of it. Get an egg on your burger. I don't know why they don't do that. Okay, so we're just walking back to the car in the car park. Like I said before, for the Everton match, we're going to do it as a different vlog. And the reason we've had to go back to the car is because all the bags and stuff that we've got, we can't take those into the football stadium. So we're going to end this vlog here and we're going to continue on as the Everton vlog. But again, like I said, that will have already been loaded onto the YouTube channel, God willing. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for watching and we'll see you later on. Take care.